Almost as soon as the president's immigration speech was over, sheriffs around the nation came out against the executive action. They cite dangers to American citizens. With me now, Bristol County, Massachusetts Sheriff Thomas Hodgson. All right, good evening, Sheriff. Your response to the president's action?
Well, the response is that this was obviously a very politically motivated executive order. It really did nothing to change anything with regards to immigration reform. In fact, it made our situation more dangerous.
How?
In regards to our border. Well, the president spoke of throwing more resources at the border. We know, those of us who have been working with ICE, know that the president has been systematically whittling down the ability for enforcement within immigration customs enforcement to go after these illegals in our country. And frankly, he's made it very difficult for us to push the agenda forward on getting these borders secured. And there will be no legitimate immigration reform, Judge, until the borders are secured. And that's just an absolute fact that everybody knows.
Right, and there's no question. I mean, history has proven that every time there's an amnesty from '86, and by the way, everyone talks about President Reagan having, given people amnesty. Well, Congress passed a law first before he did that. But every time there's been an influx and an increase. He is resistant to closing the border, which I'm not even going to get into what his motives might be. But what has your experience been with other sheriffs around the country as it relates to ICE, Immigration, Customs, and Enforcement agents, actually picking up inmates after you've arrested them where there's a detainer or a warrant?
Well, there's a movement around the country right now called the Trust Act, where they're trying to prevent us from even notifying ICE that we have somebody about ready to be released that has a detainer on them. I mean, this is as bad as it gets when they start to handcuff law enforcement from being able to protect the people of our communities. And that's what's going on here with this president's executive order and what he's been doing over the last few years in regards to preventing us from working with ICE and other agencies to keep the criminals out of our neighborhoods. And frankly, Judge, post 9/11, if we didn't learn anything in law enforcement, it was that we needed to share more information, know who's in our country, know who's in our backyard, so that we could make sure that law enforcement were communicating with one another. We developed, through secure communities, the ability to do that. And now the president wants to get rid of secure communities to make it impossible for us to be able to notify ICE when we have people that ought to be detained and deported.
First of all, Sheriff, what's interesting is you don't hear this when it comes to American criminals. You don't hear, look, we're not going to tell the feds when the local state prosecutor is letting a guy out of jail for whom there's a federal warrant. It's only the illegals. But I want to read you something from today's New York Times where they say that the local police will no longer routinely be asked to detain immigrants for ICE in violation of the Fourth Amendment. They don't understand the Constitution either. But asked instead to simply notify ICE when a wanted suspect is about to be released. So then it becomes beat the clock. So you call up ICE and say, we're letting a guy go. The guy takes off, the illegal. ICE shows up a week later, and that's the end of it.
Yeah, and that I'm glad you brought that up, Judge, because you know what? Our job is to make sure that we don't let people back out in the community to victimize people. And this exactly sets up the opportunity for these people to get out the door and be able to get away from ICE before ICE even has the chance, costing taxpayers more money to have them go track these people down.
Exactly.
And hope that they don't do something to hurt somebody in the meantime.
All right, very quickly, because we're coming up against a break. Sheriff, you're planning a march in the nation's capital. Tell us about it.
Look, Judge, I've been speaking to sheriffs all over the country. We've got sheriffs coming from California, Washington, Oregon, Maryland, all over the country who are going to be in Washington on December 10th. We're going to meet with members of Congress and speak to them about getting their support to secure these borders as the first step to immigration reform. And then we're going to be having a press conference with them as well. But let me just add this one quick thing, which is this. Look, the 15 million people or 11 million people who are here right now have been here for a long time. The fact is that we aren't going to be able to do anything on that front until we get these borders secured, because no matter what, we're going to continue to have this flow coming in, and we're going to continue to have this problem while they're talking about doing immigration reform. Here's what they need to do. Secure the border, bring in the Israelis, have them sit down with our people. Nobody knows how to do border security better than them. And in the meantime, set a commission up that can talk about whatever other reforms they want to do that can be done after the border's secured.
All right, Sheriff Hodgson, always good to have you on. Thanks.
Great to be with you, Judge.
Justice has been warning for months now. The head of the NSA agreeing that the U.S. power grid could be shut down by enemy nations. Will the government finally listen and do something to protect us?